And we are coming straight on the air today with breaking news because any minute now we're expecting to hear from police again after a shooter attacked an elementary school in this country again. This time in Nashville, we are just learning the names and the ages of the 6 people who died. 3 little kids, all of them 9 years old. 3 adults have been killed too. Their families, all of their families, living a god-awful nightmare, and so many others are devastated at how this could have happened again. You are looking live at the place where that news conference is just getting set up. We could hear from the police chief, from the district attorney, and we're getting some pictures from the scene that are just a gut punch, like this one, of kids walking to the bus, or here being led out by police. You see them holding hands as they're creating a chain to try to get to safety. There's this one, too, of a mom holding her little girl in pigtails in her arms, trying to comfort her. All of it bringing back terrible memories of the Sandy Hook and Uvalde attacks. Here's what we know in this instance. As we said, 3 kids, 3 adults who will not come home tonight. We've learned their names. All 9 years old, those 3 kids. Evelyn Deckhouse, Hallie Scruggs, William Kinney. Cynthia Peak was also killed. She was 61, along with Catherine Kuntz and Mike Hill, also 60 and 61 years old. We know the suspect had 2 assault rifles and a handgun, and we have some details on who she is, a 28-year-old woman who was killed by police at the scene. We've just found out her name. And look, it is very rare for women to be behind these kinds of shootings, and there was some early information to suggest she'd been a student years ago at this Christian elementary school. We've heard from the city's police chief already, overwhelmed by this scene. Listen.
I was literally moved to tears to see this and the kids as they were being ushered out of the building.
I want to bring in Steve Patterson and Ken Delaney, who are both joining us on this tonight. Steve, I'll start with you because literally in the last maybe 5-6 minutes, we have learned how old the littlest victims here were. They were all 9 years old, the 3 of them. It is horrific as these families now are in the world's most unimaginable pain. We've learned the names of the 3 adults as well. Walk us through who these victims are, what little we know about them so far, and where this goes next.
All we really know about the victims right now, Hallie, and they waited so long to release these names, obviously being as sensitive as possible to the community and especially to next of kin. All we really know is the age range, which is just this spectrum of sadness, ages 9 to 61 years old, the whole life between them, and now all extinguished. Sadness permeating throughout the community. You heard the police chief and his sadness, his reaction to seeing even the students that were okay just being let out of the facility. So much permeating through that community. Only the beginning as this investigation continues. You see this on screen: 6 victims fatally shot, and then their names and ages. Police, meanwhile, continuing this investigation. We're learning more about the suspected shooter, this 28-year-old woman, thought earlier initially to be of teenage age. We then learned that she is a little bit older, may have went to that school earlier on. Police looking into that. We know police were at her home earlier today, but we're also learning a whole lot more about the timeline of this shooting. We know that there was a 5-person officer team tasked with going into that school as shots were ringing out. And the word that we heard often was rapid, that this took place in a very quick manner. They got the call immediately. They went in immediately. They initiated contact with the shooter immediately. They took down the shooter immediately. And there, the timeline on your screen, 10:13, police received the call. Police chiefs say officers immediately respond to that gunfire. By 10:27, the shooter is down. So you're talking about a span of 14 minutes. That 5-person team, of that team, we heard that 2 officers took aim, fired, took down the shooter. And the rest is this investigation following up, including, as we know, there is video evidence that police will dig into alongside any information they can get on the suspected shooter. Hallie.
You mentioned, Steve, that NBC News has learned the name of the suspect in this case, the woman who's been killed.
28-year-old Audrey Hale. I wanted to wait on saying that because we should only say it a few times. As we often know, they will dig in and learn more about the connection. I think that's what sort of will center this investigation for the coming days and weeks and months as they try to learn why in the world this person would do this. Beyond that, all we know is that she's from Nashville and that police have a beat on her background, and that as they continue to dig through, maybe in this press conference, we'll certainly learn more about her connection to the school that may be beyond just that she just went there for whenever she was there. Hallie?
Part of what is so difficult here, Steve, is the facts of the matter that we have at hand here as we look at some of these images, right? The gut-wrenching photos. You shouldn't have to see kids leaving a school, obviously, holding hands because there's been a shooting that has killed their classmates in this country. And here we are again, roughly, I think 5 or 6 weeks after the most recent school shooting in this country that was just last month. When you are listening to and hearing from our teams on the ground and families who are in Nashville, there is a sense of shock and disbelief, but also of, I think, anger. Fair?
Yeah, fair. Absolutely. I mean, this is part of this tapestry of school shootings that are interconnected across this country, really since the time I was a little boy and remember watching Columbine unfold on the Today Show, thinking, how could this happen? Could this happen to me? Growing up with this reality, and then to be a part of that, though, to be a parent in one of these schools or to have a child in a school and not know what the fate of your child is as you're watching this unfold on TV, hearing it on the news, seeing it play out when you go to pick up your child. Those children are being reunited with their parents still as we speak. As far as we understand, there was busloads of kids being taken away from the scene. Heartfelt, tearful reunions, thankful, relief, of course, part of that equation. But the other part, as you mentioned, is anger. I imagine people are very upset. Remember Uvalde. There was all these questions about how could a person get a gun like this? How could this person with this gun get into a school? Similar questions will be asked about how a 28-year-old woman could obtain 2 long guns, 2 assault-style weapons, carry those weapons into a side door that the chief of police said in an earlier press conference was closed and locked, make her way up to the 1st and 2nd floor, take aim, and kill as many people as she wanted to. That will be part of this investigation as well, and it will be part of the anger of parents and people in this communities for as long as it exists. Hallie.
Steve Patterson, thank you. Ken, let me go to you because we talked about how this attack is so against the typical profile, horrific as it is that there even is a typical profile of a school shooter with a 28-year-old woman who is allegedly behind this here. Talk about how rare that is. I think it's just about 5% of mass shootings in this country carried out by women, and what kind of challenges this creates for the feds as they're trying to figure out what happened here on the scene.
And even that 5% statistic, Hallie, is a bit misleading because it includes all kinds of shootings. When you look at these active shooter type situations, the numbers are even lower. NBC News identified really only 7 going back to 1979 where women were active shooters. And when you're talking about women who have been armed with assault-style rifles, I'm not even sure that's happened before. If it has, it's been 1 or 2 times. It's really incredibly disturbing as I talk to law enforcement officials about this because, in particular, the way this transpired with potentially a former student armed with 2 assault rifles and a handgun, going there clearly with the intent to kill children, that's the kind of behavior that we've seen mainly from males, people with mentally disturbed people with violent tendencies. To see it in a female is just raising questions about a contagion that we are seeing in our society and how far it's spreading. In terms of the investigation, it's going to be the same kind of thing they would do with any suspect, which is they are going through social media. We're hearing from our affiliate right now who is at the home of Audrey Hale, and it is swarming with law enforcement officers, so they've served a search warrant on that place. They're going through all her digital devices, trying to discern what the potential motive was. And then they're also going to look at what happened here. This response, if there's anything at all positive about this, is that the response by the authorities was incredibly fast, and it's pretty clear that the students and the teachers at the school acted in the best way that they could and started evacuating kids immediately. But even so, 6 people are dead. So that tells you that even when everything goes right, it's still a horrific tragedy when you have a shooter armed with assault weapons.
This is something that the president himself alluded to, Ken, when we heard from him not too long ago this afternoon, trying to push for change. I want to play for you what President Biden had to say.
It's just, it's sick. You know, we're still gathering the facts of what happened and why. So I call on Congress again to pass my assault weapons ban. It's about time that we began to make some more progress.
This is not the first time that the president has called for that kind of ban. The reality on Capitol Hill is that there is simply not political appetite to try to get this done, at least not at this point, Ken. Do you see that changing at all?
No, I don't. But even if it somehow did change, there are 25 million AK and AR style assault rifles in circulation right now. And so unless the United States is going to embark on some kind of buyback program the way, for example, Australia did, and nobody thinks that's politically realistic in this country, where there is a love of these kinds of weapons in certain parts of the country. So there's your problem. I mean, there's so many weapons in circulation. It's become such a popular, iconic weapon in certain circles. I can't even believe I'm saying those words, right? But that's the reality that we're living in. And when I talk to law enforcement officials who specialize and experts who examine these kinds of mass shootings, they almost throw up their hands now at the gun situation. Their view is anybody who really wants a gun can get a gun. So where we have to focus now is on these signs and signals that almost all these shooters exhibit beforehand, and the people they talk to who know things, who for whatever reason don't report it. Behavioral interventions before it gets to this point, Hallie.
Ken Delaney, and thank you. Steve Patterson, thank you as well. We want to take it down south now, where more than 20 million people are in the path of yet another round of potentially deadly weather after tornadoes ripped through Mississippi, killing 22 people. And as we speak, Georgia's governor is giving an update on the destruction in his state and what's to come. We'll give you some updates soon as we hear anything. We know the names of 4 of the victims from the tornadoes that have already slammed that state. You see them here: Rob Lee, Helen and Danny Mumford, and their son, Jadarian Murphy. Pictures are just staggering. The total destruction of what was once Rolling Fork, Mississippi, a town of just 1,800 people. You see people here trying to pick up whatever they can of whatever's left of their houses. You're about to see an 18-wheeler. Look at that. That tractor trailer tipped over the town's city hall with windows blown right through. Folks describing what they've been through.
We have nothing. No running water, no lights, no houses, no transportation. A lot of people didn't have rentals insurance. I didn't.
We want to be clear, a tornado like this, an EF4, with speeds of nearly 200 miles an hour, it is super rare. Look at this map. This is the path that the storm took. It went nearly 60 miles. Fewer than 1% of tornadoes go that far. You just don't see it. And a storm this strong is super rare in Mississippi also. Over the last 60 years, more than 2,300 tornadoes have hit this state, only 16 of them as fast and as powerful as this one. The recovery is not going to be easy. The 2 counties hit the hardest, have poverty rates of more than 30%, well above the state and national averages. Maggie Vespa is live for us on the ground in Silver Lake, Mississippi. Tell us what it's like on the ground, what you're seeing, what you're hearing.
Yeah, so Hallie, emotions here are really running the gamut, as you can imagine, in times like these. Like, you have people like the ones behind me who are basically doing everything they can to kind of jumpstart the recovery. They're packing things into cars. They're already repairing that roof. We have people on heavy machinery kind of behind our crews, too, moving tree limbs around. And then you have scenes like this. And it's just like reminders of the devastation that you cannot avoid. And kind of speaking to that, one of the men who we talked to earlier walked up to us standing in front of this house. And he said, you know, what's interesting, he said, just so nonchalantly, he said, my friend died 2 doors down during the tornado. He was one of the 3 deaths here in Silver City. His name was Rob Lee. And we were told he died protecting his wife during the storm. Take a listen.
He died in his home. He was trapped in trying to shield his wife, and he was killed in the tornado. And like, he was all-around guy. He's gonna be truly missed. He was a school teacher, a dad, and a community leader.
Hallie, we also talked to first responders here who are just forever scarred by what they saw. One in particular, a fire captain who came running Friday night right as the tornado ripped through. Someone told him there's a child under the rubble. It was a 2-year-old girl. He tried giving her CPR, but he said he was unsuccessful, and she is also one of the fatalities. He said, I haven't stopped crying since Friday, and he hasn't really been able to sleep either. Hallie.
It is so scary, Maggie. Thank you very much for being there. Horrific to think about all those people who have just lost everything. Have you heard anything, by the way, as far as it relates to cleanup timeline on that, Maggie? I have to imagine it is protracted, especially with more storms coming.
It is with more storms coming. The good news is for people here, a lot of those storms that we're now looking ahead to seem to be hitting, and I know that we can get into this with our meteorologists, but seem to be hitting farther east, or forecasted to anyway. So like Georgia, why we're hearing from that governor, into the Carolinas. As far as the cleanup goes here, again, people are not waiting for FEMA, right? Like, they're not waiting for the feds. They're going to do what they can do by themselves. That being said, FEMA was out on the ground today meeting with people. We got some video of a FEMA agent shaking the hand of one of the homeowners here saying, you need to sign up for federal aid now. We're going to get it to you as soon as we can, but you need to start the paperwork because it can, unfortunately, be a daunting and long process. People here just preparing for a long road to recovery. Hallie.
I bet. Maggie Vespa, thank you very much. As Maggie alluded to, Bill Cairns is with us. He does have the track. Talk us through it, Bill. What do we think?
So we've seen these storms over and over again, Hallie, coming onto the West Coast. They've been huge flooding concerns, snowstorms, then they go in the middle of the country and they give us severe weather. We've done this rinse and repeat at least maybe 8-10 times this winter, and we're going to do it again. We have another huge storm that's off the West Coast. This one's going to bring significant rainfall, significant snow in the high elevations once again. It looks like it's spaced out enough from the last one that it won't be like horrific like some of the storms, but we will see some flooding potential in the next 2 days, especially coastal mountainous areas. 3 to 5 inches of rain is possible. And then we're just going to keep adding to what's been the most incredible snow season a lot of areas have seen. Alta, by the way, in Utah, had just broke their record with over 700 inches of rain. Snow, excuse me. That's like crazy. And Hallie, so it looks like Thursday, Friday is the next event.
Bill Cairns. Bill, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We want to take you back now to Nashville, Tennessee, where we are set to get an update any minute. We've seen some people walk in front of the microphones here. You can see some of the officials gathering here, including we expect to hear from the chief of police, the district attorney general, and others. Let's listen in.
This worst day. But let us love each other and support each other and hug each other and pray for each other. And pray for our families. But also let us praise our first responders. 14 minutes. 14 minutes. I believe under fire, running to gunfire. And then I want to thank the seamless response for federal and state authorities from our police and fire department. So this morning, I was in Boston to see my own son's sporting event, and now I am overwhelmed at the thought of the loss of these families, of the future lost by these children and their families. And the leading cause of kids' death now is guns and gunfire, and that is unacceptable. But I want to thank the fast response of our officers. Guns are quick. They don't give you much time. So even in a remarkably fast response, there was not enough time. And those guns stole precious lives from us today in Nashville. And in this dark hour, let us support each other. Let us go and hug our children a little bit closer tonight. And thank you all for being here, and I want to ask Chief Drake to come and give us an update.
Thank you, Mayor Cooper. Again, thank you all for being here. Just an update from today's press conference. We've identified the shooter as Audrey Hale, a 28-year-old female that lived in the Nashville area. We have investigations ongoing now at the residence on Brightwood Avenue. And we have made contact with the father that lived at that residence and are putting together more information. We've also determined there were maps drawn of the school in detail of surveillance, entry points, etc. We know and believe that entry was gained through shooting through one of the doors is how they actually got into the school. I want to take the time to at least say, and I won't say the victims' names, I'll let Don say that, but out of the 6 victims, 3 adults, 3 of those were children. 2 of them were age 9. 1 was 8, about to be 9. All the families have been contacted. The victims' families have been contacted as well. My thoughts and prayers go out to the family. When we send our kids to school, or to any place of safety, we expect them to live, learn, have fun, and come back from that day's experience. We don't anticipate things like this. And I want to say thank you to our partners, to Chief Swan, to Glenn Funk, to our mayor for his support, to our federal partners. But also I want to say thank you to our first responders who got there and immediately went in and addressed the threat of someone that had multiple rounds of ammunition, prepared for a confrontation with law enforcement, prepared to do more harm than was actually done, and we were able to stop the threat, and unfortunately 6 victims. So my thoughts and prayers again, but the praise go to the men and women. As I've said before, we will not wait. I was hoping this day would never ever come here in this city, but we would never wait to make entry and to go in and to stop a threat, especially when it deals with our children. So thank you. They're not. Just me. They're not saying anything.
I'm going to go over the victims' names with you now. The 3 9-year-olds who were killed: Evelyn Dickhouse, William Kinney, Hallie Scruggs. 3 adults: Mike Hill, a custodian, age 61, Cynthia Peak, to my understanding a substitute teacher, age 61, and Catherine Kuntz, age 60. As Chief Drake said, we have identified the active shooter as Audrey Elizabeth Hale, age 28. We'll take just a few questions if you have any.
Don, do we believe that she was a former student at the school?
Yes, we do. Chief, you want to address that?
Yes, from our investigations tell us that she was a former student at the school. I don't know what grade she's attended or grades, but we do firmly believe she was a student there.
Did she identify as transgender?
She does identify as transgender, yes.
Is there any reason to believe the shooter first went to the church before going to the school?
I can't give you that information. Sure, we know that the minute the calls came in, we responded to the church, so to the school.
To the school.
Yeah.
Did you have was there 2 officers that went in when they first got there? Do you know how many there was when they first interviewed?
So it was 5 officers that immediately went in and addressed. We have video that we're going to release, but you can see in the video, you can hear gunfire going on as they're in the school. They address the threat and take that threat down.
And Chief, what do we know about her weapons?
So we know there were 2 AR-style weapons, one a rifle, another was an AR-style pistol, and the other was a handgun. We believe 2 of those may have been obtained legally, locally here.
Can you confirm that one of the adult victims, Catherine Kuntz, was head of the school?
Was what?
Was head of the school?
There was some, I don't know her exact capacity within the school, but it was higher up in the echelon.
And were any of the children victims related to any of the school staff?
Unsure. I believe one may have been, but I can't confirm that.
Did the shooter have any criminal history at all?
No history at all.
And no motive at this point? Anything discovered in the apartment or house?
No, we have a manifesto. We have some writings that we're going over that pertain to this day, the actual incident. We have a map drawn out of how this was all going to take place. There's right now a theory of that we may be able to talk about later, but it's not confirmed, and so we'll put that out as soon as we can.
And Chief, is there any reason to believe that how she identifies white?
I'm sorry, I'm not someone's mic over. I didn't hear you say that again, sir.
Is there any reason to believe that how she identifies has any motive for targeting the school?
We can give you that at a later time. There is some theory to that. We're investigating all the leads, and once we know exactly, we'll let you know.
So was this a targeted attack?
It was.
Do we know about a history of mental illness? Man or woman?
Don't know any history of mental illness at this time, but we are looking at that as the investigation is ongoing. And I'm sorry.
She identifies as a transgender man or woman?
It's a woman.
Was this the only school that was targeted?
It was the only school that was targeted. There was another location that was mentioned, but because of a threat assessment by the suspect, too much security, they decided not to. And that area was here in Nashville, so we're continuing with that investigation as well. Right now, we believe it's a lone assailant, and we don't anticipate any further damage at this time, but we're still investigating.
The Brightwood address, she lived there with her parents? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
So the scene is going to be processed throughout the night, probably into tomorrow. This is an extensive scene. As you know, she entered the building, which is one structure. The church and the school are in one building. She entered on the lower floor. There were shots fired on the lower floor before she went to the upper level, and it was on the upper level where she was confronted by police and killed. So understand the scene processing will take place over at least 2 days, today and tomorrow. And we'll have more details for you, including the release of video, perhaps tonight, but if not tonight, certainly tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren.
You have been listening to the Nashville mayor and the police chief there give an update on that horrific shooting that killed 6 people, including 3 little kids at the Covenant School in Nashville, a Christian elementary school. There was a lot of new information that we just heard. Let's talk about it here. First of all, police have identified the victim. NBC News has learned the name of the suspect here, a 28-year-old woman, as well as the 6 victims. Let's start with this alleged suspect. They are in touch with her father. They say that she identifies as transgender and that there is a theory that perhaps that had something to do with the motive of what, as they laid out, was a planned out, and in their words, targeted attack here. They've found writings. They found a detailed, what they described as map of the school of where she would go. There was apparently another location mentioned in these writings, but the alleged shooter dropped that after determining that there was too much security at that separate location. She was, they say, prepared for a confrontation with law enforcement and was a former student. 2 of the guns, they say, were obtained legally, locally. 2 of the guns of the 3 that were used in this shooting. We're still waiting on any more information about that 3rd gun. As for the victims, 6 of them, Evelyn Dickhouse, William Kenny, Hallie Scruggs, believed to be all 9 years old, although the police chief said one of them was 8, just about to turn 9. We also know that Mike Hill was killed, age 61. He was the custodian at the school, according to police. Cynthia Peak was killed. She was also 61, a substitute teacher. And Catherine Kuntz, age 60, she had what police have described as a higher-up position in the school. She's listed on the Covenant website as the head of school. I want to bring in Steve Patterson and Ken Delaney, who you just saw there. Again, new details emerging. And Ken, I'll start with you here because some significant updates as it relates to the investigation itself into why and how this could have happened.
That's right, Hallie. The authorities have just confirmed something we've been chasing all day, which is once we learned that the suspect's name was Audrey Hale, we saw social media suggesting that an Audrey Hale in Nashville, Tennessee, was identifying as a male named Aiden on a LinkedIn page and in other places, and so that they've now confirmed that that is the person, and they've said that that this person's gender identity may there's a theory that that may fit into some kind of motive here, although they weren't explicit. They also revealed here that the shooter shot through one of the doors to gain entry to the school, which is an important detail because they told us earlier that this shooter had entered through a side door, but then said that all the doors were locked. So that solves that mystery, if that's accurate. And then that the shooter left some kind of manifesto, some writings that they are still going over. And, you know, let's remember, this is a religious school, a religious affiliated school, and that they've also said that this shooter may have been a student there many years ago. So we're left with still with a puzzle, but some of the pieces are coming into place more clearly, Hallie.
We also heard the police chief talk about the victims here, Steve, the age range of these victims from age maybe 8 or at least 9 up to the age of 61. And there's a question, too, on any connections that the victims may have had, right?
Of course. Yeah, in any case, when you have this. But, I mean, hearing about some of the adult victims, the custodian, a substitute teacher, and then somebody that I think police said may have been higher up, but we don't know exactly what their position was within the school or the curriculum. And then to have 3 9-year-olds, what connection could this 28-year-old woman have to 3 9-year-olds? We just don't know at this point, obviously. But it could be that a lot of the shooting was indiscriminate. We simply don't know the ballistics or the investigation. What we do know that's new is that not only was there fire on the 2nd floor, we heard about that when there was the conflict with the suspected shooter, that team of 5, 2 taking aim, taking her down, but that there also was significant fire on the 1st floor. So now you have a very complicated, very big scene that includes 2 floors and a church that's attached to the school. It's going to be a while before police get through the entirety of the scene, but just so we know now sort of how it's stacked, that there was firing on the 1st floor and then on the 2nd floor when it came to the conflict with police. Also, what Ken said, which is what we've been hearing all day, is that door was locked. We kept asking, how could she gain entry to the door when the door is locked? She shot through the door, and that she's been planning this. Not only was there maps and a manifesto, we heard the police chief say that there was surveillance on the school as well. This is something that she cased and planned and knew the locks to that door were going to be locked, so she shot it in. Learning a lot more to learn, of course, but this gives us the initial pieces, Hallie.
Well, you've laid that out, Steve, the idea that there was a preparation for a confrontation, not just, by the way, at this school, but at a separate location that she ended up not attacking. Ken, we also heard police say that they are in touch with her father. That presumably is going to be key as they continue to try to investigate motive and method here.
Yeah, absolutely right. Relatives are important. The written manifesto is important. What friends say is important. It just strikes me the echoes here when you hear this. I mean, we've never seen a female shooter approach a mass shooting with this kind of meticulous planning, armed with assault rifles. It's just really remarkable. It reminds me of a story I covered about a 2017 school shooting in New Mexico, where the FBI had actually interviewed the person who went on to shoot up the school after he made a threat, but didn't take action at that time. And that person exhibited a lot of warning signs for many years leading up to the shooting. And you wonder in this situation whether we're going to learn that some of those same warning signs existed, Hallie.
Is there reason to believe, based on our reporting, Ken, that those existed, or is that something that we're still pursuing?
We're still pursuing it. We have not seen, as far as I know, any social media posts from this person.
Ken Delaney and Steve Patterson, thank you both very much. Again, a news conference just wrapping up with the Nashville mayor, the Nashville chief of police, in which a number of new details have now emerged about that horrific shooting in which 3 little kids have been killed, 3 adults have been killed. The investigation, of course, continues. We'll have much more coming up right after the break. So we now know who that mystery witness was appearing in front of a Manhattan grand jury today investigating former President Trump. It was David Pecker, the former National Enquirer publisher. Here you see his car leaving the DA's office not too long ago. This is his 2nd appearance since January in front of this grand jury, which is considering maybe criminal charges against Mr. Trump related to an alleged hush money payment to former adult film star Stormy Daniels. And the reason why Pecker matters here is because he allegedly helped arrange that $130,000 payment to Daniels before the 2016 election. Today, we've got the former president calling the investigation just the latest form of what he describes as election interference. He has maintained he did not commit any crime. Ron Allen is in New York for us now. Ron, any other clues we're getting about Pecker's testimony today? Why now, or what he may have said?
No, Hallie. What we're waiting for now is to see if, in fact, the court is done for the day. There's a huge group of journalists, camera people back there waiting to see Alvin Bragg, the DA, leave, or members of his team. We believe that the grand jury is probably done for the day as of 5 o'clock or so. At least that's been their pattern. They meet on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. That schedule could, of course, change without it. There's been no indication of what David Pecker said or why he was called back or what his role might be in this. As you said, he was involved in arranging these hush money payments. He was an editor, the head of the National Enquirer back in 2016 when all this was going on, not only involving Stormy Daniels, but another woman, Karen McDougal, who also allegedly was involved in an affair with Donald Trump, and the Enquirer bought her story, allegedly, to make it go away. So there's that. So perhaps he is adding some detail to the process into how Donald Trump was or was not involved in all that. Pecker and Trump were longtime friends, so there's that as well. But at this point, we believe things are done for the day, and we're not sure where this all leaves us.
What is the next time that we may be able to read a tea leaf, if you will, Ron? I mean, are we looking at tomorrow, Wednesday? Can we say? Do we know?
We don't know. Again, we believe that the pattern has been Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So they may be back on Wednesday. They may be back tomorrow. We don't know if they're trying to move things along. But that has been the pattern. And you're right. All this at this point is reading tea leaves.
It is. What's not reading tea leaves is some of the polling that's been done. We described the political fallout from this. While the legal fallout is still very much TBD, the political fallout has already begun, with former President Trump out this weekend pushing back against these investigations and others. But a new NPR poll out today finds that most Americans say that these multiple criminal investigations are fair. Now, this does break along party lines. That is not surprising, but it also fits into that bigger context, Ron, as we lead into the 2024 presidential election.
Indeed, and clearly Donald Trump is trying to maximize all this to his advantage. He's doing a lot of fundraising because of what's happening. He's had a huge rally in Waco, Texas over the weekend. He has been very, very vocal on social media, on his truth platform especially, basically saying that this is all a witch hunt and all the familiar victimization things that we hear from him again and again and again. But it seems to be working. If that poll is any indication, he is gaining some ground. And for him, that's what this is all about, trying to use this to his advantage. We'll see how long that plays out. If he is indicted here, if he is indicted in Atlanta, if in fact there are federal indictments, if there are not, this is all going to play out in the months to come. And yes, the 2024 campaign is on us. It's heating up. And all of his rivals, anyone who was thinking of challenging Donald Trump, has to take a position on this, has to say something about this, because they're being asked about this. And again, he's trying to make the most of it.
Ron Allen in Manhattan for us tonight. Ron, thank you very much. Let's take you overseas with some new moves in Israel today to try to calm things down after dramatic and massive protests over the Prime Minister's plan to overhaul the judicial system there. And now that Prime Minister is blinking. Basically, Benjamin Netanyahu saying not too long ago that he will delay a vote on these changes until at least next month. That's in response to what's become a political crisis in that country. The latest and biggest flare-up coming after Netanyahu fired his own defense minister over his opposition to the judicial plan. Look at this. I mean, this is what the demonstrations look like. Blocking the main highway in Tel Aviv. Look how many people have come out at that point. There was a strike affecting banks and universities, even McDonald's. It is ending after Netanyahu's announcement. NBC's Raph Sanchez is joining us now from Tel Aviv. After what felt like a major ratcheting up of the temperature, Raph, give us a gut check of where things are now and whether or not this move by Netanyahu to push things off until maybe mid-April is really going to make that much of a difference as it relates to people's opposition to his plan.
Well, that is the million-dollar question, Hallie. What the opposition wanted to see was a firm commitment from Netanyahu that this plan is dead, it is gone, it is not coming back up again. And instead, they got this sort of a halfway, that the plan is delayed. This legislation will be pushed back at least until the other side of the parliamentary Passover break in April. Traditionally, Hallie, Passover has been kind of a quiet period in this country. Things are shut down. The political tone is turned down, and Netanyahu hopes that this will be an opportunity to release some of the tension that you have seen in those just extraordinary protests here in Jerusalem, back in Tel Aviv also. But Netanyahu also has the far right of his government who are really pushing him to keep going with this, and we will see if he is able to bring this back up again potentially in a few weeks, Hallie.
Of course, the backdrop is the fact that he faces a corruption trial here. You saw him fire that basically cabinet member, that defense minister here. You talked about the political pressure that he faces. What about international pressure, Raf, as it relates to one of the Israelis' closest allies, of course, which is the United States?
Yeah, the Biden administration has been making very clear, subtly, but making clear for weeks now, they are very uncomfortable with this. They do not want to see the level of division in Israel, a close American ally that we've been seeing. And they are concerned, as Israeli security officials are concerned, about the impact this is having on Israel's military.
Right.
Because, Hallie, reservists from elite units, fighter pilots, commandos, have been saying they are not going to show up for training. They're not going to show up for duty if this legislation goes through, because, frankly, they are not going to serve a country that they no longer consider a democracy. So we heard the White House press secretary today welcoming this delay from Benjamin Netanyahu, saying the U.S. wants to see a compromise. Netanyahu has said he is prepared to go into negotiations over the Passover period and beyond. But the real question is are there negotiations to have, given how deep these divisions are and how stark the divides are, Hallie?
Raf Sanchez live for us in Tel Aviv tonight. Raf, thank you very much. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, officials are trying to figure out why there was this powerful explosion. Look at that, at a chocolate factory in Pennsylvania, horrific and deadly, killing 7 people. Obviously, the whole building was basically wiped out in that explosion. Officials say nobody else connected to it is missing, so now the investigation continues. Number 2, Disney says it'll start the first round of 3 rounds of layoffs this week, 7,000 jobs cut in all. Disney CEO says it's part of a plan to save the company more than $5 billion. Number 3, a judge today is blocking the DA in the Rust movie shooting case from picking a special prosecutor to help her out. Remember, Alec Baldwin's legal team got the original special prosecutor in this case to step down because she was also a state lawmaker. Both Baldwin and the movie's armorer have pleaded not guilty to involuntary manslaughter charges over the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on set. Number 4, Uber Eats cracking down on something called ghost kitchens. That's when real restaurants put their same menu under different names to try to get more orders. One San Francisco restaurant made 20 different listings, all with identical menus. The idea being to try to drive up some business. Number 5, NASA's James Webb Telescope discovered a faraway planet that is very similar to ours. Probably does not have an atmosphere, so there's probably not intelligent life forms. There are 6 more Earth-like, Earth-esque planets in that same solar system. So, hey, maybe some hope that something, who knows, could be out there. We might find out eventually. Let's take you out west, because right now you are seeing some live pictures from inside the courthouse where Gwyneth Paltrow's ski instructor is testifying. It's not long after the man Paltrow is being sued by is giving his side of the story in the trial over a ski crash between the two at a Utah resort. Listen.
Everything was great, and then I heard something I've never heard at a ski resort, and that was a blood-curdling scream. Just, I can't do it. It was, and then, boom.
You can see Paltrow's reaction to his testimony there. She looks kind of incredulous a little bit of a shake of the head. Remember, this is really a case of he said, she said. Paltrow says Terry Sanderson ran into him. Sanderson says she actually hit him. Wait, Paltrow says that Sanderson ran into her. Sanders says Paltrow ran into him. There. He's suing for $300,000 because of injuries. He says he has brain damage. Paltrow is countersuing for $1 plus her attorney's fees. I want to bring in Miguel Almaguer. Miguel, sort it out for us here, right? Like, this trial is, it seems catnip for people who follow celebrity stuff, right? Because it is such a he said, she said, and it has created some moments that, frankly, have gone viral from Paltrow's testimony. What about Sanderson's testimony? What are we hearing? How does it affect the case?
Well, Hallie, as you heard, Terry Sanderson doubled down on his claim that he's the victim and that it was Gwyneth Paltrow who plowed into him while he was skiing in Park City back in 2016. He took the stand for the first time today. The now 76-year-old retired optometrist said he heard that loud scream right before impact, and then he was thrusted into the snow. He suffered 4 broken ribs and says he has permanent brain damage from the collision. Of course, Gwyneth Paltrow testified last Friday that it was Terry Sanderson that hit her as she was skiing. As for the 76-year-old, he says he's no longer the same person that he was before the crash and said loved ones have a hard time coping with the aftermath. Here's what he said on the stand.
She didn't buy in to me not being the same person and coming into a relationship. And I said, I'm not sure I'm going to get back to normal again. And I don't want you to feel like that I'm a crippled vet and you're going to stick it out with me, because I know you would. Half a brain or whatever.
Hallie Sanderson getting emotional at times as he shared his part of the story.
How far off are we from some kind of a verdict here, Miguel, considering we saw Gwyneth Paltrow's attorneys calling their first witnesses late today?
Well, that's a good question. We do expect a few more days of testimony. Paltrow's husband and children, who were skiing on the slopes at that same time but didn't witness the accident, they're expected to testify perhaps as early as tomorrow. After that, the jury should get the case, but it's unclear how long they may deliberate in this civil trial, Hallie.
Miguel Almaguer, live for us from L.A. Miguel, thank you very much. Coming up here on the show, the potential deal that could stop the flow of guns and fentanyl from crossing the border. We've got an NBC News exclusive on that coming up next. So an NBC News exclusive now, a new one, with the U.S. and Mexico getting ready to roll out a deal to try to stop fentanyl from coming across the border. Two sources familiar say Mexico has agreed to crack down on labs and smuggling, and that the U.S. is going to do more to crack down on guns flowing into Mexico. This is such a big deal because of the headlines from across the country you're seeing here, like one in Michigan, where federal agents intercepted a huge fentanyl shipment. Apparently, it was big enough to kill just about everyone in the state. In Arizona, million fentanyl pills seized. In New Jersey, an investigation into a fentanyl overdose that killed a mom at a mall. Nationally, we're at about 80,000 overdose deaths every year. Mike Memoli is with us now. Mike, you know, Mexico has been saying it's guns that have been killing its people there. They wanted to link these concerns about fentanyl to that. It seems like that nexus, guns and drugs, is where they were able to kind of come to terms on this deal that we expect to be rolled out fairly soon.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Hallie, because this issue of drug trafficking broadly, but fentanyl specifically, is actually probably the biggest source of tension between the U.S. and Mexico right now. You'll remember about 2.5 months ago, I was in Mexico City, President Biden, meeting with the Mexican president there, and the focus of our coverage at the time was about one of the other difficult issues between the U.S. and Mexico. Of course, the issue of migration, how to deal with all those asylum seekers at the border. But what was going on behind closed doors at those meetings were intense discussions between the leaders about how to crack down on fentanyl trafficking. And the point that the Mexican government has been making repeatedly, which is that it's so hard for us to get our arms around this challenge with so many guns coming across the border from the north. And so as part of these discussions that have been happening, including a high-level delegation that traveled to Mexico City, including Liz Sherwood-Randall, the Homeland Security czar within the administration, this is sort of the contours of the deal that's coming together, that the U.S. is pledging to crack down on the flow of drugs south, while the Mexican government is going to do more to work with the U.S. to trace the sources of fentanyl, where they're coming to in Mexico, and then how to really clamp down on the raw materials as well that are producing this. We should note the administration hasn't yet confirmed this. John Kirby from the NSC not confirming this NBC story, but we know Julie Ainsley has this down cold.
We sure do, ma'am. Any sign that this could maybe open up the logjam for some other issues as it relates to the U.S.-Mexican relationship?
Well, one of the reasons the U.S.-Mexico relationship is so fraught right now, frankly, has to do with the Mexican president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, AMLO, as the kids call him. He's rather a mercurial leader, and it's been difficult for U.S. officials because he has often tried to boost his own standing at home by, picking fights with the U.S. And I think you look at his response to these questions that the U.S. has been raising about their commitment to crack down on drug trafficking. He says, and we can put up the quote here, we do not produce fentanyl. And that one of the biggest issues, as he puts it, is that the U.S. needs to invest more in love, brotherhood, hugs, and embraces. And so I think that speaks to the kind of difficulty of a relationship at the top between these two leaders that is trickling down and making things complicated at lower levels.
Yeah, as we reported last week, that line about hugs getting a lot of attention. Mike Memoli, thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate it. Coming up here on the show, folks in one of the country's biggest cities don't know if they're going to be able to drink the tap water tomorrow. Plus, the new changes to the books by mystery author Agatha Christie. They're kind of controversial. We'll tell you why. Coming up. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because you couldn't possibly read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. From our Northeast Bureau, officials in Philly say the city's tap water is okay to drink, at least for now, at least until tomorrow afternoon. That's after chemicals from a plant near there spilled into the Delaware River. So far, water tests have found no contamination. People there hope it stays that way. Also out of our Northeast Bureau, Patriots owner Robert Kraft is launching a $25 million campaign called Stand Up to Jewish Hate, putting ads on TV and online to spread awareness of more and more anti-Semitism. The ADL says last year, anti-Semitic incidents are the highest they've ever recorded. Huge spike, disturbing spike. Out of our Southern Bureau, 2 Cuban migrants flew into the Key West airport on a motorized hang glider. That's a 90-mile flight. They landed safely and were taken into custody by Border Patrol. The latest classic books to get some new and kind of controversial tweaks, the ones written by Agatha Christie. Even if you've never read her books, you probably know her name. She's the second best-selling author in history, behind only Shakespeare. But publisher HarperCollins is now putting out some new editions of Christie's detective mysteries, featuring Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple. And they're changing some potentially offensive language. Like, instead of gypsy type, it's young woman. Instead of a description of his Indian temper, it's just his temper. And the word natives has been replaced with locals. Rahema Ellis is joining us now. Rahema, it's not the first time that Christie's words have been changed. The former president of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, for example, Sherilyn Ifill, pointed out that when she was a little girl, she loved Agatha Christie mysteries, and Then There Were None was one of her favorites. Then she got an older book. Very offensive name initially, right? That was what it formerly was. And she says, it was important for me to know I would never have read any of her books if I'd picked that one up first. The reason why we're showing this is because it speaks to the argument that some people are making to say, yes, you should change these books to make them more relevant for readers today, modern readers.
Yeah, indeed. We're a much more diverse society today in the 21st century than we were when Agatha Christie was writing in the 20th century. So people are saying there's a need for these books to reflect that, to reflect the sensitivity and the diversity of its readers. And there's a business reason for doing this, too. If you want people to read those books like Sherilyn Ifill read, she saw something that was much more agreeable to her. This is not only being sensitive to your population of readers, but also it's a reflection of what you want your bottom line to look like. This may be something that's also good for business, Hallie.
People are becoming more sensitive, right, to the use of language that could be offensive in new books and classics. I think of the controversy around Roald Dahl, for example, and some of the rewrites there that got a lot of attention. What's the view from the perspective of these publishing companies, Rahema?
Well, even the fact that, going back to the fact that Agatha Christie's book, Then There Was None, that was also called 10 Little Indians, they felt that they had to change that. So they've started something that's relatively new in the publishing industry. It's called sensitivity readers. It's a group of people who get together and look at what kind of languages in books that are currently on the shelves, and if it's insensitive to some of the potential readers. So not only looking at what's been published, but at manuscripts from authors who would like their books to be published. And they are saying they're doing this because they want to reflect what's happening in society. Let's put up a full screen of something I want you to see that they're writing, and they're saying that no customer should be harmed by a material they read for entertainment or education. No librarian or retailer should have to worry that a book that they're carrying is spreading damaging or inaccurate impressions of people. Hallie?
The other argument, of course, and some have made it online, is that rewriting classic literature amounts to censorship, right, and takes away from the reality of the time that these books were written, even if it was, decades ago.
For sure. In fact, there was one tweet that went out, one person talking about Agatha Christie saying her words were a product of their time. So if you take away her words, you were in some ways, you were desensitizing people to what had occurred in another time, and also not giving a full and positive, not positive, but a full accurate reflection of what the times were like. So they are not everyone is in agreement with this changing of words and changing of titles. They think it's not presenting a real, true reflection of where the writer was and what the times were like when they were writing these books. Hallie?
Rahema Ellis, thank you very much. Appreciate it. That does it for us this hour. More coverage picks up right now. We're coming on the air with breaking news and a lot of new and disturbing details on that shooting at an elementary school in Nashville. New information on how that attacker allegedly got in and what police are looking at as a possible motive. We're live on the ground in just a minute. We're also live down south, where millions of people are facing down the barrel of yet another potentially deadly storm, with folks in Mississippi just now trying to see what is still standing after that devastating and historic tornado killed 22 people. We're live in the one town that lost everything. Plus, we now know who the secret witness is who spoke to a Manhattan grand jury investigating former President Trump, why it means we could potentially and officially be on indictment watch tonight. And in tonight's original, the invasion of the Canadian super pigs. It's real, it's happening. We'll talk about the risks and what you should know about it. And Taylor Swift fans showing up not at her concert, but in court, because they're mad about that whole Ticketmaster fiasco, and her tour tickets went on sale. We'll tell you what happened today in a courtroom out west. Hey there, I'm Hallie, and we're coming on the air with that breaking news. A shooter attacking an elementary school in this country again. This time in Nashville. 3 kids are dead, so are 3 adults, with all their families living a god-awful nightmare. And so many others devastated at how this could have happened again. Here's the victims. Look at these numbers. Evelyn Dickhouse, Hallie Scruggs, William Kinney, they were just 9 years old at school for the day. 3 people in their 60s were also killed. The custodian, Mike Hill, substitute teacher, that was Cynthia. Catherine Kuntz on the school's website was listed as head of school. Police say she was in the sort of higher ups of the administration. Here's what we're just finding out in the last hour. We know the suspect, a 28-year-old woman, identifies as transgender. She was killed at the scene by police, 5 officers going into the school to protect those kids. They've spoken with her dad already. They think she used to be a student years ago at the school. The police chief also said she had maps. She had a kind of manifesto, writings, they called it. They think there may be some clues to a potential motive there. As for how she got in, since the doors were locked, they think she shot at a door to try to get into the building. We know she had 2 AR-style rifles and a handgun. Here's more from the city's police chief.
There were maps drawn of the school in detail of surveillance, entry points, etc. We know and believe that entry was gained through shooting through one of the doors, is how they actually got into the school.
So was this a targeted attack?
It was.
A targeted attack there. These new details, these new clues are coming after a day of images that just punched you right in the gut, that broke your heart, that devastated you. I want to show you one. Kids walking in a line to the bus. They're being evacuated after a shooting at their school. Look at them. Here's one of them being led out by police. These little kids holding hands, creating a chain to try to cross the road safely, to try to escape this violence. There's this piece of video, a mom holding her little girl in pigtails in her arms. She's holding her, trying to comfort her after a nightmare. All of it bringing back terrible memories of the Sandy Hook and Uvalde attacks. There are still a lot of questions here, right? We don't know how this alleged suspect, how she got these guns. Police said only 2 of them were obtained, quote, legally and locally. We still don't know specific details on the motive of the shooter, although police say that her gender identity, the fact that she did identify as transgender, is a theory that they are looking at as it related to this religious elementary school and why she may have gone there. There's also the question, will anybody do anything about it? President Biden wants a broader assault weapons ban in Congress. That has been a non-starter in the past. Kathy Park is on the ground for us live in Nashville. And Kathy, let's start with some of these new details here, especially as it relates to this alleged suspect, the person believed to be the shooter. Police are in touch with her father, looking to get more information about why she would have done this.
Yeah, that was the last piece of information that we received just a few moments ago, Hallie. Right now, it seems like they were able to track down the address that this suspect was associated with. They were able to get in touch with the father at this time, but there are still so many questions as to what motivated this shooter to enter the school earlier this morning. So let me backtrack a little bit. This all unfolded around 10:13 a.m. Central Time here in Nashville, and then we were told that authorities were able to rush into the building shortly after that. 14 minutes later is when we were told that the suspect was dead on the second floor. And as you mentioned just a few moments ago, the shooter was able to gain entry into a building. It sounds like a building that she was familiar with because she had maps, also a manifesto as well that they're combing through as this investigation moves forward. But eventually she was able to shoot a door at the side of the building, began shooting on the first level and then made her way up to the second level of this school. And that's when this shooter was confronted by officers and later pronounced dead at the scene. But 6 people are now dead, 3 children, 3 9-year-olds, also 3 adults who are all in their 60s. It certainly has gripped this community. There are a lot of prayers. Obviously, this happened at a church, and we are told that they're still kind of processing everything right now. We know a lot of the parents are still trying to reconnect with their loved ones. It's a relatively small school, around 200 young students, pre-K through 6th grade, and we were told that they were kind of being held. The parents were in a separate location and then reuniting with their young ones one by one. But obviously that is going to be a thorough process, a long process, which I understand at last check is still ongoing, but still a lot that is moving forward with the investigation. We were told by officials that they will be releasing some sort of footage, some surveillance footage, which may hold more answers as to how exactly the shooter was able to enter the building and then go on this rampage. Hallie?
Yeah, they say she shot up the door of the school here. We know that there has been a ton of police, a lot of law enforcement activity outside of her house, apparently the house where she lives with her family. Our affiliate in Nashville has been posted up there and just got an interview with a neighbor. I want to play it.
I was home at my house and we heard an extremely loud explosion and looked out the front door, and the neighbor was running up the street and came up here, and there was SWAT trucks everywhere.
Part of the investigation, police say, revealed already that there was a second location that this alleged shooter, that this suspect had been considering going to and attacking, but had basically cased it out and determined there was too much security, so she essentially dropped it, according to police. It speaks to the level of pre-planning that apparently went on here, Kathy, based on what we're hearing from law enforcement.
Yeah, and that's what they're going to be combing through and looking at this manifesto. I mean, as we mentioned, there was a map that they were able to retrieve from the shooter, and hopefully they will get some more answers on that. But once again, officials are kind of tight-lipped as to when this individual attended the school, but sounds like this person was familiar with the school grounds because was a student years ago, 28 years old. Obviously, this is a school where young students attend pre-K through 6th grade. So obviously still a lot of questions pertaining to this individual, what motivated this person to enter the school early this morning.
Kathy Park live for us there in Nashville. Kathy, thank you very much for that live report from the ground. Appreciate it. I want to go to Ken Delanian, who is joining us now following the investigation here. Next steps, Ken, you have to think examining this you know, I guess we call it a manifesto, these writings, this map, the sort of literature that this person had pulled together, this 28-year-old woman, before she went into this school and killed 6 people, according to police. You also have to think that the question of motive is going to be one that they're trying to get at here.
Yeah, 100%, Hallie. And we should say, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things to normal people, right? 6 people are dead, horrific incident. But so why is it important that why are we reporting on this? Why does law enforcement care so much about this? It's to prevent the next one. It's to try to figure out why these things keep happening. What motivates people to do this? What are the warning signs? Were there any interactions with law enforcement? Were there missed opportunities? There almost always are in these cases, Hallie. And in this particular case, it's a really dramatic example. It's an anomalous example, really. Female mass shooters are extremely rare. Now this person was born female, and we're told could be classified as a trans male. It's a little bit unclear. We see some social media with the person whose legal name is Audrey Hale identifying as Aiden, and the police are telling us that somehow may figure into a motive. We need to sort of put that aside because it's really unclear how that factors in. But the fact that this person was a previous student at the school and what's the history there, all those things are going to be examined. And again, it's important to know this in order to prevent the next one.
Ken Delaney, and thank you very much. I know you're going to be staying on top of all the new details on that. Appreciate it. I want to take you now down south, where more than 20 million people are now in the path of yet another round of possibly deadly weather after tornadoes that ripped through Mississippi, killing 22 people. Georgia's governor just wrapped up an update on the destruction in his state, talking about what is to come. Listen.
We just want people to realize we're going to be here to help the locals, and we just cannot thank you enough for what you're doing.
Right now, we know the names of 4 of the victims from the tornadoes that have already hit. You see them here: Rob Lee, Helen and Danny Munford, and their son, Jadarion Murphy. As the pictures are just staggering. The total destruction of what was once Rolling Fork, Mississippi, a town of only 1,800 people. You see people here just trying to pick up whatever they can find of what's left of their houses. Over here, there's an 18-wheeler. Look at this tractor trailer. It just tipped over on its side. That's how powerful the wind was. You see City Hall in town, its windows just blown through, with folks describing what they've been through.
Here we like family. If one person died, we all feel it. My family was spared, but there's a lot of people's family wasn't, and that breaks me.
We want to be clear, a tornado like this, an EF4, can go nearly 200 miles an hour. It is super rare. This thing traveled something like 60 miles. Fewer than 1% of tornadoes go that far. It's also rare to have a tornado like this in Mississippi as part of a storm system at all. Over the last 60 years, more than 2,300 tornadoes have hit the state. Only 16 of them have been as strong, as fast, as powerful as this one. The recovery is not going to be easy. The 2 counties hit the hardest have poverty rates of more than 30%. You can see that is well above the state and national averages. Maggie Vespa is in Silver City, Mississippi. Maggie, bring us up to speed on what you're seeing.
Well, Hallie, you can see behind me that road to recovery, as you said, will be long, but it's already underway. I just want to step out of the way here. Actually, we can push in. We've been watching this family, like all day long, go into their house, take things out, salvage what they can, while the roof, as you can see, is in pieces. But just in the last hour, a nonprofit came in and helped them put a tarp over it. So just kind of making the house at least somewhat livable or protected, more likely, while they kind of sort through what they can of their things. Then you can see over here this bus that, from what we can tell, people tell us was just kind of tossed there by the tornado. Next to that, a bulldozer, like a bobcat type thing, that just random volunteers have been taking to move tree branches around and tree limbs and just try to help jumpstart this cleanup process. But at the same time, this is a block where, at least from what we're told by first responders and county officials, 2 people died here in Silver City. This is a town, for reference, of just over 300, like 330 people. 3 people in this town of close to 300 died in this tornado on Friday, and the total death toll at this point now at 22. So this is really hitting people. And when you look at scenes like this behind me, I mean, they're being faced with this day after day. So despite the progress that they're trying to kind of, make happen for themselves, it's undeniable, the loss. It's undeniable, the devastation. And everyone here knows each other. Everyone knows each other. Even in Rolling Fork, that's a couple thousand people. This is a few hundred. And I'll just end it with saying we talked to a first responder, a fire captain, who had tried and failed to save a 2-year-old girl in this town. He said, I haven't been able to stop crying since Friday, and I also haven't really been able to sleep since Friday. So the healing will probably take longer, as you can imagine, than the recovery.
Yeah,
Hallie.
I bet. Maggie Vespa, it's heartbreaking to think about. Thank you very much. Bill Cairns is with us now. Talk about the storm that is now on the heels of the storm that just hit, because boy, these folks just can't catch a break.
Yeah, Hallie, we're already nervous about what's going to happen Friday of this week, because we have another potent storm. You can see it spinning here clearly off the west coast. This is going to move through the middle of the country, and it looks like another severe weather outbreak. It's not that unexpected. Now we're heading towards April and May, the biggest months for tornadoes, but it's just been a rinse and repeat weather pattern all winter long and now into the spring. So first we have to deal with it in California the next 2 days. More heavy rain, filling the reservoirs up, but we're hoping not to get any flooding out of this one. If we do, it'll be in the coastal mountain areas. That's where 3 to 5 inches of rain is likely. And of course, 3 to 5 inches of rain in the high elevations, that translates into feet of snow. We continue with this incredible year, especially for the high elevations. Alta in Utah, over 750 inches. They broke their all-time record. Can you imagine what 750 inches of snow is? And I know they're going to get another 1 to 3 feet here in areas like Mammoth Lakes, and they're approaching their all-time record too. So that storm eventually comes out into the middle of the country. This is Thursday. Thursday night's kind of the beginning of it. I do not expect a tornado outbreak, maybe an isolated one or two, most like a hail threat. But from Wichita to Oklahoma City down just outside of Dallas and Fort Worth. Then as we go into Friday, the storm gets bigger, more intense. It taps the moisture out of the Gulf, and this huge area has a chance of severe weather. We're all the way from Chicago southwards down to Louisiana. And again, this is Thursday, about 5 million people. And of course, with that huge area, by the time we get to Friday, that's a much larger section, 54 million people, Hallie. The last time that we had something like this 5 days away, we had a huge outbreak of severe weather. So it's looking very likely Friday is going to be a long and dangerous day.
Pull back for a sec, Bill, because we've talked a lot on this show about the impact of climate change on storms like these and the way that Tornado Alley has actually shifted, right?
Yeah, and this season has been like, a banner for it. I mean, all winter long and all spring, we've been talking about where we've been seeing the worst of the severe weather. And then, with this latest outbreak, this was Mississippi and this was northern Alabama. These were all the little areas where the tornadoes were reported with this event. And, since Friday, it was 24 total, by the way. And we did have a couple isolated ones as we went through the weekend. But here's that shift. So when we grew up as kids, and a lot of people always thought of Tornado Alley, you think of the storm chasers out there in the open plains from Kansas to Oklahoma, all the way down through Texas. But that's on a downward trend. And now we're seeing the frequency increasing in the east. And we're getting them in the seasons that you don't quite expect it. I mentioned May is the peak, but because of the warm waters in the Gulf of Mexico, we can get that warm, humid air earlier. I mean, we have record warmth down in the Gulf, Hallie. So that's why we've gotten more of these February, more of these March tornadoes. And as we see, a few of them are very strong out of what we'd call the peak season.
Bill Cairns, thank you for that breakdown. It's a fascinating look at the way that the weather has shifted and the issues that causes. Appreciate it. We now know who the mystery witness was who appeared in front of a Manhattan grand jury investigating former President Trump. It's David Pecker, the former National Enquirer publisher. This is his car leaving the DA's office not too long ago. You see that shot of it coming through that sort of tunnel thing there. This is the second time he's shown up in front of this grand jury since January. A grand jury, of course, considering maybe criminal charges against Mr. Trump related to an alleged hush money payment to former adult film star Stormy Daniels. The reason why Pecker matters here is because he allegedly helped arrange that $130,000 payment to Daniels before the 2016 election. Today, you've got the former president again lashing out at this thing, describing it as what he calls election interference in its latest form. He has long maintained he didn't do anything illegal here. Ron Allen is in New York for us. And Ron, we don't know much about what David Pecker said. That's intentional. These grand juries are supposed to be black boxes, impenetrable to even the best of reporters, right? What we could do is maybe read some tea leaves as far as when is the next time that a grand jury could meet. Are we kind of on the potential for indictment watch, if you will? We don't know if it's going to happen. We don't know if that's what the grand jury is going to do. But help us understand the clues that you're picking up on.
Well, we've been in indictment watch now for some time. It was last Tuesday when Donald Trump said that he was going to be arrested and perp walked, and it was 10 days before that we understand his attorneys were offered the opportunity for him to speak to the grand jury, which in normal situations is one of the last things that happens before there is a decision to indict or not. So this is setting new precedents. It's setting new timetables. The grand jury meets on Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So there's that clue, perhaps. But again, we're just in a very uncharted territory right now, and it's unclear what will happen next. David Pecker, a witness, came back. He was probably a very friendly witness for Donald Trump. He was involved in these hush money payments back at the end of the campaign back in 2016. So he's perhaps telling the jury things about that might be helpful to Donald Trump. But again, who knows what they're thinking? Who knows what they're doing? But we're so far down the road now that we are certainly in indictment watch, and it could come at any moment or not.
One of the things that is raising the level of concern in some corners is the serious threats against the DA, the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who is at the center of this case, the prosecutor basically running this case, that came out last week, something local leaders there are thinking about and talking about, and I think probably fair to characterize as somewhat on edge about.
Yes, because we have seen what Donald Trump's rhetoric can do. And there's a lot of concern that it could incite violence, as it did, many would argue, on January 6th. So there's, yes, a very, very palpable concern. Security has been increased here around the courthouse. People in the city are talking about all this. There's a lot going on. Here's some of what some local leaders had to say about that earlier today. Take a listen.
Absolutely no one is above the law. We will not be intimidated as a community by threats.
It's unacceptable.
So there was that. A lot of concern, a lot of allegations, a lot of condemnation of Donald Trump's comments as being racist and reckless from local leaders here in New York, as, again, we continue to wait day by day to see if, in fact, an indictment comes down.
Ron Allen live for us there in Manhattan. Ron, thank you. Appreciate it. Let's take you overseas with some new moves in Israel tonight to try to calm things down after dramatic and, frankly, huge protests over the Prime Minister's plan to overhaul the judicial system there. And now the Prime Minister, he's kind of blinking. Benjamin Netanyahu saying not too long ago he will delay a vote on these changes until at least next month. That's in response to what's become a political crisis in Israel, with the latest and the biggest flare-up coming after Netanyahu fired his own defense minister over his opposition to the judicial plan. Look at this, right? These are demonstrators out. At one point, they blocked the main highway in Tel Aviv. That is a sea of people, right? I mean, that's a lot of people. There's a strike that's been affecting banks and universities, even McDonald's. That is wrapping up, or at least ending for now, after this announcement by Netanyahu. NBC's Raf Sanchez is joining us now from Tel Aviv. The question is, right, has this announcement that Netanyahu's going to wait until at least maybe mid-April after the Passover recess, has that lowered the temperature enough? And is it like a permanent temperature lowering, or are we merely in a brief reprieve until the next round of demonstrations over this judicial overhaul that he's proposing?
Well, Hallie, if this is any indication, protesters were on the streets of Tel Aviv earlier tonight. They were blocking highways again. They were clashing with police, officers using water cannons, sending in the horses. So the future looks a whole lot like what the past couple of months have looked like so far. And the reason for that, Hallie, is the protesters don't want to see a delay. They want this plan dead and buried. They want confirmation that it is not coming back up on the other side of Passover in a few weeks or any time. The trade unions have called off their strike, so the economy should be open tomorrow. But this political crisis is not looking like it's over anytime soon, Hallie.
Backstory to people, right, on this one. This is such a big deal because Benjamin Netanyahu is facing a corruption trial. And now here he is proposing essentially major changes to the country's judicial system. You have people who would be called up in the Israeli reserve saying, well, wait a second, I'm not going to do that. That's why the defense minister got upset about this. Netanyahu fired him. It is interwoven and complex and affecting like every corner of the Israeli government and economy here.
Every corner. And Hallie, the list of things about this situation that are unprecedented goes on and on and on and on. It is unprecedented that you have a prime minister who is on trial right now for criminal corruption charges. It is unprecedented that you have thousands of reservists in the Israeli military, in elite units, pilots in the Air Force, commandos in the Special Forces saying they're not going to turn up for training. They are not serving in a military of a country that they do not consider a democracy if this legislation goes through. It is unprecedented to see a general strike like the one we saw today. The only international airport in this country shut down for outbound flights for a number of hours. This little country, about the size of New Jersey, cut off from the world for a couple of hours as a result. So to say nothing, Hallie, of unprecedented to see protests at the scale that we have seen, proportional to population. The protests that turned out last night, Sunday night, is the equivalent of 23 million Americans all turning out spontaneously all at once to protest against something their government is doing. So unprecedented barely covers it, Hallie.
I think that that's such a clear way of laying this out, Raf, and I appreciate that. I know I'll put you on the spot, but I've been thinking about how could you make an analogy that would be comparable to anything that's happened in the U.S.? I don't know that you can, right, without getting into hypotheticals here.
The big difference is to do with checks and balances, as you and I have talked about before. The equivalent situation in the U.S. would be if the government wanted to change it so the House of Representatives could vote on its own without the Senate to ignore rulings of the Supreme Court. You know, it sounds crazy to American ears to say it, and you can understand why Israelis feel that they have to be on the streets in large numbers to prevent this situation. But I will tell you, Hallie, a number of people on the right, Netanyahu's supporters, they are telling us that they won the election back in November, fair and square, and they feel that these more liberal protesters are basically thwarting their democratic will. Hallie?
Raf Sanchez, I'm glad you're on the ground there for us in Tel Aviv. I look forward to seeing more from you, of course, in the days to come. Appreciate it. So listen, there's a little bit of resolution today for the thousands of customers who had their money in Silicon Valley Bank before it epically collapsed. Their branches are back up and running, but it's under a new name, First Citizens. That bank agreed to buy a big chunk of SVB's assets after it went down a couple weeks ago, leaving questions over how exactly their money would be taken care of. The markets seem to be okay with this news. The Dow and the S&P even closing up a little bit, but at least a little bit in the green, driven mostly by bank stocks. I want to bring in NBC's business and data reporter Brian Chung. So First Citizens Bank bought Silicon Valley Bank at a huge discount because Silicon Valley Bank had collapsed at that point. Does this mean in super layman's terms that if these tech companies that had or any kind of companies that had money banked at Silicon Valley Bank, they're good to go with First Citizens?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, any clients that had deposits at the former Silicon Valley Bank are now effectively customers of First Citizens. So as you mentioned, the First Citizens company, which is based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, buying about $72 billion of Silicon Valley Bank assets at a discount. The government had to sweeten the deal a little bit to incentivize buyers to get in there and buy the assets of the failed bank, which, as you'll recall, 2 weeks ago collapsed and has been held in government receivership ever since then. So to be able to pass on some, not all of the assets to First Citizens is certainly an encouraging sign that there are buyers out there and that the government didn't have to hold the hot potato forever. For what it's worth, investors in First Citizens seem to react positively. Shares were up over 50% just today, and the overall bank stocks went up as well. The bank stock index is measured by the S&P and an ETF going up over 2% in trading today. So it seems like optimism on Wall Street after perhaps what could be a stopping of the bleeding in what we've seen in the banking sector over the last few weeks, Hallie.
Perhaps a wind down to the drama that we've been covering for the last couple of weeks in the finance sector. Brian Chung, thank you very much. Coming up, the guy suing Gwyneth Paltrow, giving his side of the story about that ski crash on the stand today. There he is. We'll tell you what he says happened coming up. Right now, you're taking a look at some live pictures from inside the courtroom. That's an employee of the Utah ski resort where Gwyneth Paltrow and another skier collided. She is on the stand testifying not long after the guy suing Paltrow gave his side of the story.
Everything was great, and then I heard something I've never heard at a ski resort, and that was a blood-curdling scream. Just, I can't do it. It was, and then boom.
You can see Paltrow's reaction to his testimony there. She looks kind of like incredulous. She gives a little blink and a shake of the head. Remember, this really is a case of he said, she said. Paltrow says that Sari Sanderson ran into her. Sanderson says she actually hit him. Sanderson's suing. He wants $300,000 for his injuries and for what he says is brain damage. Paltrow is countersuing. She wants $1 plus attorney's fees. I want to bring in Miguel Almaguer, who's been covering this trial for us. Miguel, there's a lot to this in a trial that has become super high profile because of some of these moments, like the one that we just saw, that are getting so much attention online, on social media, et cetera. We saw that that employee of the resort testify. She's on the stand now testifying live. Sanderson spoke. What new nuggets are we gleaning here, Miguel?
Well, the biggest takeaway from the day, Hallie, was that Sanderson doubled down on his claim that he's the victim and that it was Gwyneth Paltrow who plowed into him when he was struck back in Park City in 2016. He took the stand for the first time today. The now 76-year-old retired optometrist said he heard that loud scream right before impact, and then he was thrusted into the snow. He suffered 4 broken ribs and says he has some permanent brain damage from the collision. Of course, Gwyneth Paltrow testified on Friday that it was Terry Sanderson that hit her as she was skiing. As for the 76-year-old, he says he's no longer the same person that he was before the crash, and said that even loved ones are having a hard time coping with the aftermath.
You are about 3 miles. Oh, Miguel, let's listen to that.
She didn't buy in to me not being the same person and coming into a relationship, and I said, I'm not sure I'm going to get back to normal again, and I don't want you to feel like that I'm a crippled vet and you're going to stick it out with me, because I know you would, half a brain or whatever.
I mean, you heard how emotional that Sanderson gets there. We've seen Gwyneth Paltrow. She testified. She kind of had her own vibe on the stand. How much are people paying attention to this where you are, Miguel? You're in the town. You're like 3 miles from Hollywood, right? Is this something people are talking about? Because it feels like there's not, and I'm just going to be honest with you, it's not like there's a broader takeaway from this case that's going to like set the tone for some legal theory for decades, right? It is a he said, she said. The attention about it is it's Gwyneth Paltrow and this other guy who says, hey, you hit me.
Yeah, obviously, so it's a civil case and not a criminal trial, but there's a lot of eyes here in Los Angeles in particular, because this is Tinseltown on this case and kind of all the attention that it's gleaming here. And as you mentioned, Hallie, there's been a lot of focus on social media just from the face reactions that people are making in the courtroom. So this is certainly something that's being watched. A lot of folks are talking about it. It's got a lot of viral moments. As for what happens as we move ahead, we do expect that there will be more testimony over the next few days. Paltrow's husband and children, who were also skiing on the slopes when this happened, are expected to testify possibly tomorrow. After that, we know the jury will eventually get the case, but we don't know how long it's going to take them to deliberate. And as mentioned, it is a civil trial, not a criminal trial.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Miguel. Wait, can I ask you one more question? Who actually saw this happen, right? Do we know, like, so far there's one guy who apparently was 40 feet away. Was there any other eyewitness to this crash?
So there's been no other eyewitnesses to the crash. There was some debate early on whether there was GoPro video. The victim, or I should say, said he originally had a GoPro on him. He did not have a GoPro on him. He said there was no video taken. It doesn't appear there was any surveillance. So it really is a he said, she said. It's going to come down to who the jury believes, who the jury thinks is more credible. Guess we'll have to find out in a few days, Hallie.
Sure. Well, Miguel Almaguer, you will bring us, I am sure, that highly anticipated verdict when it happens. Thank you, friend. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, officials are trying to figure out why this explosion happened at a chocolate factory. Look at that in Pennsylvania. Ugh. Awful. Deadly. 7 people killed. The whole building was destroyed. Investigation on that, by the way, is still ongoing. Number 2, a judge today blocked the DA in the Rust movie shooting from picking a special prosecutor in that case to try to help her out. Remember, Alec Baldwin's legal team got the original special prosecutor to step down because she was also a state lawmaker. Baldwin and the movie's armorer both have pleaded not guilty to involuntary manslaughter charges over the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on set. Number 3, Disney says it'll start the first of 3 rounds of layoffs this week, cutting 7,000 jobs in all. The CEO says the layoffs are part of a plan to save the company more than $5 billion. Number 4, the White House says at least 50 employees in the U.S. government may have been targeted by spyware. The announcement's coming on the same day that President Biden signing an executive order letting the government ban software if a company is found to use spyware that targets activists or spies on Americans. Number 5, Ticketmaster Mexico avoiding some big fines after more than 2,000 ticket-holding fans were not allowed into a Bad Bunny concert. The company apparently offered full refunds plus a little something extra for the mix-up. Coming up, an NBC News exclusive, a potential deal that could stop thousands of pounds of fentanyl from coming into the U.S. Stay with us. Coming up, why super pigs are becoming a bigger problem at the border. We're going to tell you about it coming up in tonight's original. That's at the northern border. But first, we're going to take you to the southern border to an NBC News exclusive. The U.S. and Mexico getting ready to roll out a deal to try to stop fentanyl from coming across the border. 2 sources familiar with this plan say Mexico has agreed to crack down on labs and smuggling. And in return, the U.S. would do more to crack down on guns going into Mexico. This is such a big deal because of headlines across the country, like the ones you're about to see. One in Michigan, where federal agents intercepted a huge fentanyl shipment. Apparently it was big enough to kill just about everyone in the state. In Arizona, 1 million fentanyl pills were seized. In New Jersey, an investigation into a fentanyl overdose that killed a mom at a mall. Nationally, we're at about 80,000 overdose deaths a year. Mike Memoli is with us now. And Mike, part of this is, and why it's so significant when this announcement does happen, it hasn't officially happened yet, is because of the nexus here between guns and drugs. Mexico has been saying it's guns from the U.S. that are killing our people. The U.S. has been saying it's drugs from Mexico that are killing our people. This is hopefully, they hope, somewhat of a solve to some of this.
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. When we think of the U.S.-Mexico relationship, we tend to boil it down to one issue, which is migration. But when President Biden was in Mexico City in January, I was covering that trip. A lot of the most intensive discussions behind the scenes were about U.S. frustrations that Mexico wasn't doing more to crack down on these cartels. And it was ahead of a push that President Biden made in his State of the Union address about the need to take on fentanyl, which he has called a plague in this country, taking too many lives. And so the common response from the Mexican government has been, listen, it's hard for us to get our arms around this challenge when we have guns flooding over the border into our country. That has really made it hard for law enforcement to cooperate. And so that's been the essence of months of tense negotiations our colleague Julie Ainsley has been reporting on between the U.S. and the Mexicans about what ways they can better cooperate here to take on fentanyl. The U.S. is pledging to do more to prevent the flow of guns south, and the Mexicans are want U.S. help, especially from law enforcement, to sort of share data to deal with where these drugs are flowing over the borders, the sources of how they're getting into Mexico, and then, yes, to the actual sources where they're actually developing these fentanyl pills to try to get at the root causes here. We should note that this is still a work in progress. We believe they're close to a deal. The White House wasn't ready to confirm it, but this would be a real sign of progress, even if it's easier said than done.
Mike Memoli with that reporting here for us tonight. Mem, thank you. Good to see you, as always. Appreciate it. So listen, we want to bring you the original now with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight, it's about something that may or may not be on your radar up north, a so-called super pig invasion. And honestly, it is exactly like what it sounds like. These huge, very destructive feral pigs that have been bred in Canada, running wild there for decades, and now for the first time being spotted in the United States. Jesse Kirsch has more on the risks and what officials are planning to do about it.
Flying high over a frozen Canadian prairie, Dr. Ryan Brook, a PhD, is on the hunt for so-called super pigs.
A super pig is a hybrid between a European wild boar and a domestic pig. We get the benefits of having really thick, warm fur, long legs, big, long nose, razor-sharp tusks, but also large body size and very, very high reproductive output.
Associate Professor Brook has been studying feral swine for the past 13 years. He's now sounding the alarm on a huge population of super pigs that have been running wild in the Saskatchewan wilderness for decades.
They're the worst invasive large mammal on the planet.
Associate Professor Brooks says Canadian pig farmers first bred super pigs in the 80s in an effort to increase pork production. He says when the pork market collapsed in 2001, hundreds escaped captivity.
Wild pigs occupy over 700,000 square miles. That's bigger than most countries.
And that's a problem for the United States because we already have a massive feral pig problem of our own. There are at least 6 million feral pigs across 35 states, mostly in the South, according to the USDA.
They do massive crop damage. The USDA says $2.5 billion per year just in crop damage alone. A couple of years ago, there was a woman in Texas that was actually killed by a group of wild pigs.
So far, U.S. feral pigs rarely venture to the frigid North and Midwest, according to the USDA, because they've adapted over hundreds of years to the warm, humid climate of the South. North Dakota's Deputy State Veterinarian Beth Carlson says,
We receive occasional reports of feral swine, and in some cases, it does seem that they may have traveled down from Canada.
On top of the agricultural and environmental damage they cause, feral swine are considered a breeding ground for diseases that can mutate and possibly infect humans, too.
Over 30 bacterial and viral diseases, over 40 parasites that are shared between pigs and humans and other domestic animals.
Ryan Powers is in charge of eliminating swine in North and South Dakota.
Early 2013 or so, we started to receive more reports of, what appeared to be these Eurasian boar that were on that northern border of North Dakota.
He says that so far, they've been able to prevent any wild pigs from establishing a foothold, but eliminating them is a balancing act, and sport hunting is not the answer.
The more pressure that feral swine get placed upon them, they do become nocturnal. We've observed that here in North Dakota. You could even create additional problems by separating the group and having then these populations go in multiple directions.
Associate Professor Brooke warns what's happened in Canada is a cautionary tale.
We never found a wild pig in Canada anywhere in 2002 in all of our research. Now we have thousands of them spread across Canada. Once they're firmly established, they are there for the duration. You will have them for 500 years.
Hey, 500 years, folks. 500 years. That is not a short amount of time. Jesse Kirsch is joining us now. Can I ask you a question, Jesse? What is the difference between these Canadian super pigs that there's like the concern about versus like your regular old American wild pig that's already in the U.S.?
Yeah, I like that, your regular old American wild pig. Well, Hallie, it's really just about simple geography, right? We're talking about a group of pigs in the U.S. that is used to the warmer southern climate, and then you're talking about this Canadian group used to the colder temperatures. And so our northern states aren't used to seeing this, and so that is part of the concern here is how do they adapt to that issue, because they're starting to see something that is new to them. And as was just mentioned there, and you hit it again, we're talking about something that could be a centuries-long problem, Hallie.
Have there been any encounters, like super pig encounters between like regular people and these things?
Yeah, well, if you encounter one of these things, the advice is do not engage, step away, and notify authorities, because as we were just talking about there, this is something that can be a concern for potentially transmitting disease. Definitely not something you want to mess around with.
What do you think I'm going to do? Jesse, I'm not engaging in a super pig. Let me tell you, never. You don't have to tell me twice. The risk is real, though, as you talk about. Pig. Seriously, but as you say, like the risk is very real, and that is why there are these warning bells that are sounding about this now, right? That's why these officials are sounding the alarm.
Yep, absolutely.
Jesse, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Coming up here on the show, you know Prince Harry, he's making headlines for not royal family drama this time. We'll tell you why he was in a London courtroom today and who he's taking on in the global. Plus, some new changes to the books by mystery author Agatha Christie. We'll tell you who done it, why it's so controversial. Next. The latest classic books to get some new and kind of controversial tweaks, the ones written by Agatha Christie. Even if you've never read her books, you probably know her name. She's the second best-selling author in history, behind only Shakespeare. But publisher HarperCollins is now putting out some new editions of Christie's detective mysteries, and they're changing some potentially offensive language, like some of the words that you're seeing on screen here. So, for example, like instead of saying gypsy type, it's young woman. Instead of a description of his Indian temper, it's just his temper. Instead of natives, it's local. Rahima Ellis is joining us now. It's not the first time that Christie's words have been changed. The former president of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, for example, Cheryl Eiffel, pointed out that when she was a little girl, she loved Agatha Christie mysteries, and then There Were None was one of her favorites. Then she got an older book. Very offensive name initially, right? That was what it formerly was. And she says, it was important for me to know I would never have read any of her books if I'd picked that one up first. The reason why we're showing this is because it speaks to the argument that some people are making to say, yes, you should change these books to make them more relevant for readers today, modern readers.
Yeah, indeed. We're a much more diverse society today in the 21st century than we were when Agatha Christie was writing in the 20th century. So people are saying there's a need for these books to reflect that, to reflect the sensitivity and the diversity of its readers. And there's a business reason for doing this, too. If you want people to read those books like Cheryl Eiffel read, she saw something that was much more agreeable to her. This is not only being sensitive to your population of readers, but also it's a reflection of what you want your bottom line to look like. This may be something that's also good for business, Hallie.
People are becoming more sensitive, right, to the use of language that could be offensive in new books and classics. I think of the controversy around Roald Dahl, for example, and some of the rewrites there that got a lot of attention. What's the view from the perspective of these publishing companies, Rahima?
Well, even the fact that, going back to the fact that Agatha Christie's book, Then There Was None, that was also called 10 Little Indians, they felt that they had to change that. So they've started something that's relatively new in the publishing industry. It's called sensitivity readers. It's a group of people who get together and look at what kind of languages in books that are currently on the shelves, and if it's insensitive to some of the potential readers. So not only looking at what's been published, but at manuscripts from authors who would like their books to be published. And they are saying they're doing this because they want to reflect what's happening in society. Let's put up a full screen of something I want you to see that they're writing, and they're saying that no customer should be harmed by a material they read for entertainment or education. No librarian or retailer should have to worry that a book that they're carrying is spreading damaging or inaccurate impressions of people. Hallie?
The other argument, of course, and some have made it online, is that rewriting classic literature amounts to censorship, right, and takes away from the reality of the time that these books were written, even if it was, decades ago.
For sure. In fact, there was one tweet that went out, one person talking about Agatha Christie saying her words were a product of their time. So if you take away her words, you are in some ways, you were desensitizing people to what had occurred in another time, and also not giving a full and positive, not positive, but a full accurate reflection of what the times were like. So they are not everyone is in agreement with this changing of words and changing of titles. They think it's not presenting a real, true reflection of where the writer was and what the times were like when they were writing these books. Hallie?
Rahima Ellis, thank you very much. NBC News covers hundreds of international stories every day, and because you couldn't possibly read or watch or listen to them all, our foreign desk has done it for you. Here's some of what they're keeping an eye on in a new segment we call The Global. Out of Egypt, archaeologists have found at least 2,000 mummified ram heads. Look at that, in the ancient temple of Ramses II, one of most Egypt's famous pharaohs. They also found a bunch of other stuff, like mummified dogs and goats and cows. It's believed they were all put there to honor the late ruler. In Haiti, a couple from Florida was ordered off a bus, kidnapped, and is now being held for ransom, according to their family. The couple visited Haiti to see some sick relatives they haven't been heard from in more than a week. In the UK, Prince Harry was spotted heading into a London courtroom today for the first hearing in a privacy case against British tabloids. Prince Harry, Elton John, some other celebs have sued the publisher, Associated Newspapers, over alleged phone tapping and evasion of privacy. That publisher denies all the allegations. Still to come, hundreds of Taylor Swift fans are rallying outside a courthouse in LA today. Why they say Ticketmaster intentionally misled them. So you'd expect Taylor Swift fans to be at her concerts, sure, but what about at court? A few of them are there today, taking on Ticketmaster and Live Nation. You see a handful chanting, rallying, saying stuff like, I'm quoting, "Take down Ticketmaster," meaning some of that bad blood is certainly not over between Swift's fans and Live Nation over the frankly disastrous presale of her Eras tour. More than 300 fans in all, 340 of them are suing. They say that Ticketmaster is basically too big and that illegally stamps out competition, which lets them jack up ticket prices. Listen.
That's really my big motivation behind it, is for change to happen, because I feel like live entertainment should be more accessible. There's so many things they could do, but at the end of the day, it's just, let's make it a better process, make it more accessible and less harmful to consumers.
You probably remember some similar arguments a couple months ago back here in D.C. when it was lawmakers questioning Ticketmaster over all this. It's not just Swifties either. Drake fans are also hitting Ticketmaster with a new suit over super high prices for his upcoming tour. Ticketmaster did not respond to NBC's request for comment, but they previously denied cutting out competition, and they blamed the Taylor Swift ticket fiasco on unprecedented demand and cyber attacks. I want to bring in entertainment journalist Andrew Freund. So the fans, Andrew, want something like $2,500 in damages per violation here. Talk through the end game. Is this about making a point for some of these Swifties?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Hallie, the Swifties are pissed, and you don't want to mess with 340 pissed Swifties because they're going to take you to court, which is exactly what they're doing. And basically what these fans want is Ticketmaster really controls about 70% of the ticket marketplace, and they want there to be some other competition because if there's more authorized people selling tickets, then the prices could go down. But right now what's happening are these scalpers are going in, buying tickets, then reselling them at a much higher price. And it's just the system can't even handle the demand at all. So we need more competition to drive down the prices. And these fans are, rightfully upset about it.
These fans are not the only ones who want something to change with Ticketmaster. You've got them, you've got the Drake fans, you've got the Hearing on the Hill, et cetera. It feels like this is a bit of a sort of put up or don't moment for Ticketmaster as far as public pressure on them to change something.
Yeah, 100%. And when I was going through this story, the tickets are so expensive now that people are actually flying to Europe to see Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and it's cheaper. So it's cheaper to go to London to see a Taylor Swift show than it is in Nashville, which is kind of crazy to me because that involves airfare, that involves, hotel fees. So I think the end game, right now, and even Neil Young came out and said that he's not standing for it. The Cure came out. They had a huge problem with Ticketmaster, which resulted in Ticketmaster giving $5 to $10 per ticket back to the consumers because of Robert Smith's tweets about it. So hopefully all of this discussion will bring prices down and Ticketmaster will be held accountable.
Andrew Foreign, thank you very much. Good to see you, as always, on this. By the way, we want to hit on one piece of developing news from something we told you about earlier in the show on that grand jury meeting in Manhattan related to that hush money payment, allegedly, from former President Trump and any criminal charges. 3 sources familiar with the matter, according to our colleague Jonathan Deans, to say that grand jury did not vote today. We will see when the next signal or tea leaf comes from them. That does it for this hour. We're going to have a lot more for you here tomorrow, same time, same place. We're glad you're with us, as always. Top story with Tom Yamas, live in Rolling Fork, Mississippi, starts in just the next couple of seconds. Keep it right here on NBC News Now for more.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.